there, and welcome to this talk called End-to-End Portable Microservices with MicroProfile. And as you may notice from the agenda, it said Eclipse MicroProfile, and now it only says MicroProfile. And that is because MicroProfile has been established as a working group at the Eclipse Foundation, and now they can go on with just using the name MicroProfile without the Eclipse in front of it. My name is Ivar Grimstad. I'm the Jakarta EU Developer Advocate at Eclipse Foundation, and I'm happy to be here at JCon 2020. So this is my contact information. Feel free to contact me on Twitter or LinkedIn or GitHub. I'm a member of the Java Community Process Executive Committee, and there are actually elections coming up now. So if you're a member of the JCP, then you know who to vote for. I represent the Eclipse Foundation in the executive committee there. I'm mostly with the Jakarta working group at the Eclipse Foundation, but also spend some time with the Apache Software Foundation, where I'm a committer at NetBeans, for example, and also run the local Java user group in Malmö in Sweden. So this talk is about MicroProfile. And it's, as you see, it's about optimizing enterprise Java. And enterprise Java, it's optimizing enterprise Java because it's building on top of the Java EE technologies that are most fundamental for creating simple microservices. So you have CDI for context and dependency injection to glue everything together. And you have JSON processing and JSON binding for creating the JSON objects back and forth to Java, and JAX-RS as the mechanism for creating RESTful interfaces. And on top of these, you have 8 different specifications from MicroProfile. And as you see, this one is MicroProfile 3.3, and that's the current version out there. There is a version 4.0 on the way that will be coming out later this year, but the current version is actually 3.3 now. And these specifications are covering the aspects that are useful for you when you create microservices. It has capabilities for tracing, for fault tolerance, for document your APIs, from measuring your APIs with a metric specification, type-safe calls between the services using the REST client, security covered by the JSON Web Token propagation, and as well as externalized configuration and health checks. And I'll demo most of these in this talk, and it will be mostly demo-based. So I only have a couple of slides, and I'll be demoing a lot of these implementations because MicroProfile is a specification and or a set of specifications. So they come with implementations, and the implementations I'll be using here today is Quarkus, Helidon, Open Liberty, Payara, and Tommy. So I'll be covering most of these in this talk. The best way to get started and find information about MicroProfile is to navigate to their website, which is microprofile.io. So this is where you go, and even better, you go to the MicroProfile starter and you can get started right away. And that's what I'm going to do here in this talk. So what I'm going to do first now is to create a simple greeting application where I'll use the starter to generate this and use Open Liberty. So I'll open the microprofile.io. Here you see, you can go to the starter here, or you can type in start microprofile.io in the browser if you prefer to do that. And you'll get to the MicroProfile starter. And here you have a couple of options. You can choose which version of MicroProfile you want to use. And depending on which version you choose here, you get different alternatives for runtimes. So in this case, I'll choose version 3.3. I'll call it com example, and I'll call it greeting. And then I'm going to choose Open Liberty. And here, I could choose a couple of examples here to generate some code for me. But in this case, I'm actually going to implement all of this myself. So I don't need these samples, but these are good examples if you want to see how it's done. You can also choose to run on 8 or 11. Let's choose 11 here. So here I have a zip file I get down here. I'll just extract this. I'll put it in my JCon folder. Let me see if I got it extracted. There you go. And then I'll open it in my IDE. So we can have a look at it. It is a Maven project. I'll just import it as a Maven project like this. And while it does that, you can see this is what you get. You get a couple of Java classes, a simple configuration, and some config for MicroProfile, and then you also get an index page you can use to navigate with. So let's look at this. And first, I'll actually just start it. So I'll go to the greeting folder, and I'll just type Maven Liberty dev, and we'll start this one in development mode, so I can do changes without restarting the server. Let's go in and do some changes. So the hello controller here, it just says hello world, and we're fine with that. It says /data/hello. That's okay. So you can see here it's simple JAX-RS. There are nothing MicroProfile specific here. It's just saying that this GET request is going to return hello world. And this is the configuration of the application. And while this takes a little bit while to do the first start, this is because this is when everything is downloaded to the target folder, the runtime and everything. So the consecutive restarts will be significantly faster. So this takes a little while, but we'll get there. Let me see, where did I put this greeting? Okay, I'll put it here. So I think it's about to come up and running. It's now checking for the application, and we should be ready to check it out. So I'll do this in the browser here, and go just navigate to localhost. Oh, sorry. Let's try to type it correctly. 9080, and then data hello. And it says hello world. So nothing weird there. Let's try some other things. Like I said, there are health checks in MicroProfile. So let's create a couple of health checks. And the first one, I'll just call it Duke Alive. And this is a liveness probe. And as you see, I'm using the liveness probe from MicroProfile Health. I'm implementing a health check, and I'm saying, hey, Duke is alive. So what I do is just annotate this class with liveness. And this will give me a indication I can give to the runtimes, whether I'm running in Kubernetes or anything else, that, hey, my application is up and running, it's alive, so don't kill it yet. What we also want to have is a readiness probe. And let's call this Duke ready. And this is exactly as the liveness, as you see, only it uses the readiness annotation. So this one says Duke is ready. So if I go to the browser and navigate to /health there, you'll see I'll get all checks. It says Duke's alive and Duke is ready. But you don't want to give all these to Kubernetes, for example. You want to give it the liveness probe to tell, hey, I'm up and running, don't kill me yet. And then you want to give it the readiness probe to say, hey, I'm ready to receive traffic. So you want to differ these. And this is how you get them for free with MicroProfile. What MicroProfile also gives you for free is OpenAPI. So you have the Swagger generator, or the OpenAPI specification here for the hello endpoint. You can also add annotations here with the MicroProfile OpenAPI annotations, or even Swagger annotations. And Liberty actually comes with the UI as well. So you can go in here and see that my endpoint here is actually here, and I can execute it and try it out as well. And you see, I get a 200 here. So everything is there. It's up and running. You can do changes as you go, and that is so much. So fast it is. You see, it took me literally like 3 minutes to download this file, and I have a microservice up and running pretty fast. So let's do this a little bit more advanced, because to be honest, Hello World isn't that exciting. What we want to do is to have a application or a set of microservices that is super helpful for speakers. Now in these pandemic times when we're kind of stuck at home and doing virtual conferences, this is not a problem knowing where you are, because you usually wake up at home and you're doing a virtual talk somewhere, but you're still at your desk. But when we are traveling and you wake up in a hotel room in the morning and you don't know where you are, and you don't know which conference you're speaking at or which talk you're doing, this service can be a good help. So what I'm doing here is that when I come to the hotel room in the night, I can configure the service, start it, and in the morning I can hit refresh in the browser, and it will say, hey, you have a microservice talk at JCon Wednesday at 2. And this is what we don't do. And of course, I could just hardcode this text into the Hello World service, but let's do it a little bit more exciting, because after all, we are engineers and we want to do this. If we can do it simple or complicated, let's do it complicated, but still simple. So what we're going to do is to create first a location service. So let's do that and use Quarkus for that purpose. So I'll go back to the starter. This time I'll call this one location. And let's choose version 3.2 and Quarkus. Oh, sorry. There we go. We have Quarkus, we have location, 3.2, download a location service, unzip it. There you go. Let's close this one, go back to the IDE, and then open this one here as well. So we have everything in the same place. Okay, put it there. Yeah, it shouldn't be any problem. There we go. Go to the location here. I think I put it here. So much for preparations, right? So here you can see you have also the Hello controller, the location REST application, some configuration, and etc. And let's see if we have it here in the IDE. We do. So what I want to do here is actually the version that is generated for me here. Have an older version. I'm not sure what the latest version of Quarkus is, but I'll actually upgrade it there. And I also want to add a dependency because we are going to add some security later, and then I need to let's see if I have this dependency there. So we have the JSON Web Token support as well for later. So let's go into the source code here. Open this application, you see it, /data. The Hello controller says hello, but let's call it location. And also go into here and say Maven Quarkus dev, because Quarkus also have this development mode, so we can do changes on the fly. What I want to do here now is I don't want to just write JCon here. What I want to do is to inject a property so I can configure it. So I'm injecting a config property. I'm calling it, the name is place. For some reason it didn't compile here, so I'll check that later. Default value somewhere. Where? So just for the space there, let's see why didn't it compile here. Oh yeah, the newer version of this actually compiles it directly to jar. So I need to change that. And now it should be starting. So you can see what I did here in the Hello controller is that I'm injecting a property here. I'm adding it to the variables place. So I'm saying I have a config property place that I'm calling somewhere. I'm just getting a little distracted since it doesn't compile here now. But let's see if it was the compilation changes I did that caused the problem. I see it's a later version 183, but I'll stick with this one for now. Let's see if it works now. Okay. Oh, still some issue here. I don't know. Oh yeah, I know what it is. We are probably competing with some ports or stuff. Let's go and see. Set the port to application properties. There you go. I'm going to set this to 84 because I have some other services running on 8080. That's the problem. So now I should be able to run. And of course, you use the latest version if you're doing this. So if 183 is the latest, then that's the one you're using. So now it's up and running. So, but in this case, I'll just use HTTP to check it. So this was on 8484 data location. And you can see it says hello world. And so what I will do is to go in my hello service here. Let me see, hello controller. And rather than returning hello world, I'll return at and then place. So now it should actually say at somewhere. And we don't want it to say at somewhere. So now I'll configure it because this is the default value that it's using. So what I'm going to do is to go in here and configure it to use the system variable place. Like JCON. Start it again. Go in here and invoke the service. Let's see here. It should be coming up and running. Let me try it again. Why isn't it answering? There you go. It's a little slow today. So it says at JCON. So what I have now is the simple service, location service running on Quarkus saying at JCON. The next thing I'm going to do is use Helidon to tell me which conference I'm at. And let this service say I have a microservice talk at JCON, and it will get the text at JCON by calling the Quarkus location service. And for Helidon, I could use a starter there as well, but for Helidon, I'm actually gonna I'll stop this one just to not to confuse me and go in there and maybe Liberty Dev there and go back to the here. And what I will do is to use the Helidon client tooling, which you can download from helidon.io. So here I'm using Helidon client tooling, and I'm choosing the microprofile implementation. I'm choosing a bare minimal installation. I'll call it conference, and let's call it com example. The artifact is conference. And the project version is 1.0 com example conference. Not started yet. Let me see here. It's named BRMP, so I'll just move it to conference. City conference. Look at how it looks, and you can see I have a greeting resource and a configuration file. That's all I need. And here I can use the development loop for Helidon by typing Helidon dev, and it will start in development mode. And while it does that, I'll just import it to the IDE so we can have a look at the code. Let's see, JCon conference. There we go. This is also a Maven project. So what I have here is the first thing I'll do is also do the port config here to get it right. And what I want to set it to is 8282. So let's find this one. Let's go. Do I have it? Yeah, it doesn't matter where we put it. It'll just have the server port 8080 and then start it again. So we don't have the port conflicts here as well. What we also want to do is to create a file here that we will call the we can call it conference. So REST app, and we will just have this one extend and application, and it's a JAX-RS application. Let's add the annotations application scoped, and there we go. And let's just add the there we go, the grid resource. So there we go. And I see that it's not running here either. I'm not sure why it doesn't start. Also unable to start. What did it say? Is it still port? Oh my God. Let's see. If did we configure the correct one? Yeah, we said it's going to be 8082, and I think I actually did configure the greeting service, and that wasn't intentional. So let's go and just fix that so we don't have, okay, it wasn't that one. Was it this one? Oh, I'm totally lost. But anyway, the MicroProfiles server properties is 8282 for this one, and let's do Helidon dev and see if it starts. And this grid resource, let's change this one. So so it while it's building here, it's starting and now it's up and running. So let's go and test it out. 8282/data location. Did I change it to location? I probably didn't. So let's go back to the grid resource and say we want this to be location. There we go. So now it should, when it's restarted, it should return the correct one. Let me see, it's /data. This one has location. Did it start? Oh, it's not location. It's supposed to be conference. That didn't help me very much. It's still running on 8282, isn't it? 8282, yeah. Well, demos are always cool. Data conference and data conference. There we go. It just took some time. So it says hello world. This is not what we wanted to return. What we wanted to is, let's get rid of everything here. We'll return a string. We want it to be a string. We want the message to be something else. Let's just return hello for now. So it compiles and everything is happy. There we go. And what we want to do is actually to, I'll remove this as well. What we want to do is to call the other service. And the way we do this is to create an interface. And this interface is, I'm using a template here for to speed it up a little. Is using JAX-RS annotations. I'm saying it's at location, it's a get. So I'm saying get to the location. And then I will need to configure it. And the way I configure it is to use the microprofile config. And I go here and say, hey, the location service, which is the name of this interface, Common Example Conference location service, is here on 8484. And remember, that's where we have the Quarkus thingy running. And it's at /data. So this is the entire path to data. And then we have location there. So I'm creating this interface. I'm registering as a REST client, so it will generate the proxy for me. And I'm registering it to pass the headers. That will be useful for security later. So now in the grid resource, I can inject this interface. Location service. Let me see, like this. And then I can rather than return hello here. Let me see if I have a demo. What I can return here is a microservice talk at, and then I'm calling the location method in the location service, which will do a GET request on the location sub-resource. So, and it should be up and running. And so if I now go and call the conference app, it will say a microservice talk at JCon. So what I've done now is to create a service that calls another service. So I have this one up and running. So let's create a couple of more, but I won't do that now. I already have them running. So I have the day and time running here, one on Tommy and one on Payara. So I can do HTTP 8080 data day, and it will return Tuesday. It should have been Wednesday, actually. I haven't updated this service. 83 data time, and it should return 2 o'clock. It returned 12 since I haven't updated. I actually did a talk yesterday on this, so I have Tuesday at 12, but read Wednesday at 2. So I have these two services up and running. And the last thing I'm going to do is to create the greeting service that will call all these three services and compose the text. You have a microservice talk at JCon Wednesday at 2. It will say Tuesday at 12, but bear with me there. And also add some fallbacks using the fault tolerance here to get it resilient. So let's do that. What I'm doing then is to go to the greeting service. I'm going to the hello controller here, and you can see it returns hello world. Let's just verify that it's up and running, so we don't start with something that's broken. Hello. And it says hello world. So let's start by creating these clients. And what we need is a day service. This is more or less exactly the same as the location service I did for the conference service. Let's create a time service. And this one has to pass time. The other one has to pass day. And we'll configure it in a minute. I also want to create a conference service. And this one does a call to conference. And here you can see I've configured some fallbacks. So if it times out after 500 milliseconds, it would call a method called sayIt. And I implemented sayIt as a default method here, since it's an interface. And it says, dude, look out the window. So now I have these. What I also need to do is to configure these 3 services. And I'm doing that in the Microsoft config file. So I'm putting in here and saying that the conference service is running on 8282. The time service is running on 8383. The day service is running on 8080. And also saying propagate the authorization headers. So now I have all the clients ready. So let's go and start using them. So I'll go and inject the, I'm using inject the REST client for day service. And I'm injecting the REST client for time service. And I'm injecting the last one, REST client for, what was this, conference service. There you go. And rather than returning just hello world here, let's do a return all of this. Let's see, return. You have a, and then return whatever text I get from conference service, which will be microservice talk at JCon, and then return the day, which will be, in this case, Tuesday, it should be Wednesday. And then it will say at, and then time service, and return the time from time service, which should be 2, but will be 12 in this case. So here I'm calling all these services. So if I now call the hello service, it should return, you have a microservice talk at JCon Tuesday at 12. It should be Wednesday at 2, but bear with me there. So far, so good. And so what I've done here, I haven't implemented these fallbacks. I'm seeing we are getting short on time, so I dropped these fallbacks. I have a fallback here that it will return something else if the conference service is down. So let's try that and take the conference service and just kill it. Go and do the call again. And then it will say, dude, you have look out the window, because that's the fallback mechanism. And it says, but it still calls the other one Tuesday at 12. Let's start this one up again. And then it should return the correct message when that is up and running. So if I call it now, it should return. It's not there. No, not yet. Let me see. There you go. So now it calls everything. So far, so good. But let's add some security on this, because let's face it, you don't want everybody to know where you are at any time. So I want to secure the location service, like make it secure so only I myself or some certain clients can call it. So and what I want to do is to make sure that the request to the greeting service has a JSON Web Token in it, and this JSON Web Token I can validate there at the greeting service. I don't care at the conference service, so I'll just propagate it there to the location service, where I'll validate it that I'm actually the caller to the greeting service is allowed to do this call. And this calls for a little bit of configuration again. And what the first thing I need to do is to go to the location service and secure this one. And what I do here is that I need to add a public key so I can validate the JSON Web Token. And I'll show you the web token I'm going to use. So I've generated a web token previously today. And if I go in here and I'll just paste it here. Let's see. There you go. Did I get everything? I think so. So you can see I've generated it. It has the for serverexample.com, it is valid until tomorrow. It has the groups user and protected, and these are the ones that the microprofile specification maps into maps into roles in Jakarta EE or Java EE. So what I'm going to do is to check for these roles. And the first thing I need to do is to add a public key so I can validate this token at the location service. So here I'll just add a file. I call it public key PEM, and I'll just add the key there. I'm going to the properties file and saying where this file is located. There we go. And if I now look at the location service, it should have been restarted here. If I do call it HTTP location is 8484 data location, it should give me a 401 saying, hey, you're not allowed to call this. Oh, not yet, because I haven't really said that it should be secure. So what I'm going to do here is to use the roles allowed from Jakarta EE and say it need to be protected, or the user calling it has to have the role protected. So if I call it now, I should get a unauthorized from the server. And you can see that's where I get. So if I do this call now and add the authorization header, and then, okay, that was not my clipboard. Let's see. So let's go and say authorization bearer, and then the JSON token. If I call it now, you can see I get a JSON because I now validate the token. And now I want to propagate it from the greeting service. So what I want to do then is to configure this server to have the correct configuration as well. So I'm doing here, let me see, config, we have server XML. Let's copy the key down here. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm putting it in this resources security and a public key folder. It's already configured to use this key here. And the last thing I have to do is to secure the service. And here I'll say roles allowed. And here I'm accidentally writing users here. So if I now do a call to the hello service, you first should see that I'm getting a do not log out the window because the conference service isn't returning anything because the token isn't there. So if I now the fallback kicks in, and I say bearer, and then I'll copy the token. There we go. So if I now call it, let me see again. Did I authorization bearer? Did I hello? Okay, actually, it could be. Oh, I stopped this one. So I'm starting it again. I'm going to questions in a minute or so. So we'll have time for a couple of questions. So you can see I've actually misspelled the users there. So it shouldn't work. If I now, let's see if it gets up and running. There you go. So if I now call this one with the token, it should give me a 403 if everything is working. Let's go and do the correct thing. And do it, see if it works. Oh my God. There we go. So it just took some time to get up. So now you say, see, I'm propagating the token. I'm validating that the user role is there and that the protector role is in the location. service. If I now say that, hey, it's users that I'm accepting, and I'm doing this call again, you can see I'm getting a forbidden. So I'm not getting a 401, which I would get if the token wasn't there, or if the token was wrong. So if I go back here to the user role, just verified that it works. If I go in here and somebody tampers with the token, you will get a 401. So there I've added all the security to it. Let's sum up what we did. And what I did was to create all these 5 services to get me this message, so I know where I am, which talk I'm doing, and when to do it. And it's also secured, so the user calling the greeting service has to be in the user role, and it also has to have the protector role in order to read the location. The sources for these 5 services are on my GitHub. It's called Duke's Local Greeting. You can download it and try it out if you want. If you want to find out more about MicroProfile and try out the starter, go to microprofile.io. And of course, we have Jakarta.ee, where all the Jakarta.ee information is. So that was what I had. And I'll stop the sharing now and go through a couple of questions. We still have 4 minutes left. So I'll start with the top. Okay, so a question about the conference service. It's a remote injection because there are different services running. Something like in remote beans in Java EE. How else could the lookup be made? Well, no, it's not it's sort of. But the lookup is made by the configuration I did in the MicroProfile config file, where I say this is a URL to the service. And since it's MicroProfile config, you can configure that in Kubernetes or in the environment variables or using system variables or any configuration mechanism that your runtime supports and inject it in so it will call the right service. So it's an HTTP call. It has nothing to do with remote beans or anything in HIB. It's an HTTP request going, and it's using the JAX-RS client underneath. But what these interface and annotations are doing is generating this as a proxy for you. So it's kind of similar to what you had with the remote calls in Java as well. But this is actually over the HTTP protocol. So how should the data connection between location data and time? I guess that is kind of the same question about it. It's HTTP calls, and you configure it using the configuration mechanism in MicroProfile config. When not using app servers, CDI, are some MP libraries usable to be used in standalone Java SE or OSGI? Okay, so there are, I'm not sure if you can use them standalone, some of the APIs. Some of the implementations are providing this. You'd have to look at the different vendors. The specification doesn't say anything about it, but they all rely on these Java EE specifications, CDI, JSONP, etc. So it is you need to yeah, it depends on which vendor, more or less. Why did I implement the service as a singleton? Well, that was what was generated for me. It doesn't need to be a singleton. It can be any scope you want. Usually I would use request scoped for the services, but this sample was a singleton when you use the MicroProfile starter. How does location know the link between date and time? I don't think the location service ever called the date and time service. It was a greeting service that did the calls to them. So the location doesn't know anything about it. It's a greeting service that had that configuration. How to see a specific user, not just role in the security service. Yes, in the JSON Web Token, you have also the, you can get out the user principal and map it to that and actually validate a specific user. In this case, I chose to use the role for the call, but you can actually do it on a user level as well. And you can do it programmatically if you want, but just injecting the JSON Web Token in your code and use it. So I think that's it. My time is up, and I thank you very much for listening, and I'm happy the demo worked at the end. Thank you.